Good evening and welcome to today's terrain building session. Tonight we'll be building some HESCO bastions for 28mm wargaming. HESCO is a kind of modular barricade system that is used for army bases. The plan for tonight is to go through how I built the first HESCO, then talk about the blue stuff that I use for the mold making, show how the mold is made. Then I'm gonna go around the casting, where I cast with the plaster, and when that's dried up, we're gonna build one of the bastion terrain pieces, putting multiple HESCOs together. And if time permits, I'm also gonna get around to painting and basing the stuff. Please drop any questions in the chat, and we'll go through them while we work. All right. First up is to build a HESCO and mold making. Right. So HESCO bastions come in a lot of different sizes. They're all cubes, but they are there's a lot of different standards. The one I've built, I've made around the size the HESCOs were in the base in Kosovo, where I was myself, and these were about just over half the height of a man. The first HESCO I built that I made the first mold from is Lego bricks built into a cube. Then the bottom is covered with a plastic card. Oh, that's the bottom right there, and the top, where the small dots on the Lego brick, these things, I covered that with the green stuff and added a layer of plastic card. Doesn't matter that the top and the bottom is flat, because one side will be glued to the base of the terrain piece and the top will be covered in sand. HESCOs is a kind of a fabric cube with a metal net on the outside, so you fill gravel and sand and dirt inside the cube for an easy barrier or wall. I bought some mesh in the hardware store. This is a glass fiber mesh, and it's used for covering the seams when you do a drywall. You can use it in that. It's really cheap, and you get a long roll. It's about double the height as this, so it's perfect for making a chain link fence in other terrain projects. I covered the Legos with super glue, and then I wrapped the net around. I gave it 2 layers on top of each other to make sure that the detail was hard enough to capture in the mold. This is broken now. I've used it a couple of times. You can see here. So it's starting to break. Not really worth anything, but I wanted to show how I did it. Then, with one of the first cubes, one of the first HESCOs that I cast, I've been using the good ones to make the mold for other HESCOs. So yeah, that's the first one. Second point is let's make a mold, and we're gonna be using blue stuff, and blue stuff is the name that Green Stuff World has for their product, and it's a copy of an older brand, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but it's at the start of the video, and I'll put it in the comments later. But it's a Japanese modeling product, comes in all kinds of colors, and it's a bit cheaper, so find that on eBay. But I bought mine from Green Stuff World before I knew there was a different and cheaper alternative. This product, you heat it up with hot water, and then you can make molds from it. So first thing first, I built a box from Legos to keep the blue stuff in place. Then I've made this Lego box just big enough to hold the thing that I want to make a mold of, to keep it in place. I've already heated my blue stuff. It needs to, the warmer the better. So you can heat it up using boiling water. I usually put it in the microwave for a bit to make sure it stays boiling. But this is pretty soft right now. It cools down fairly quickly. So the hotter it is, the more details it'll be able to capture. So make sure to, when it's heated, thin it out and add some boiling water. The thinner it is, the better it'll get heated all the way through. Just needs to be left in there for a bit. Then we'll put it into the Lego box, push these 3 individual HESCOs inside. I've already cast a lot of singles, but since I'm going to be building walls anyways, I figured it would be smart to make a combined 3-piece long HESCO barrier. Let's go like this. So that's the goal. All right. So I kept this in my coffee cup, my thermos. So it's already nice and warm before this video. Just get it in here. Try filling out the space as good as you can from the start, so there won't be any empty spaces. And here, while it's hot, let's push in these 3 HESCOs. Just go like this, push them all the way down. Go close together. Then I can use, a spoon or whatever tool I have available to make sure that it's really pushed hard into whatever I want to copy. The more pressure, the better. I'll get a finer print of the detailing. And as it shows, I only have nearly enough for making a mold for 3 at a time. Normally when making a mold like this, you really want to have enough of the blue stuff to make sure that it's just pouring over the sides, and then you can cut it off afterwards. There we go. Then it has to cool down, so I'll just put it in a bowl of cold water to let it cool. Blue stuff is a great material. It's pretty easy to use for big clunky things like this, where you can make a quick mold. These are the single molds that I've made. And you can use it to copy all manner of things. I've made for my Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago terrain, I've been using old Lizardman shields for detailing, and I only had a few. So I did some quick molds with the blue stuff, and then I've just been green stuff press casting more of these cool old lizardmen shields with a bit more technique, and perhaps we should do a video of that on some point. You can cast more detailed pieces. These trash bins, I only had 2. They were resin, and I wanted to make a lot of trash piles, so I copied those a lot of times. The set only came with 1 trash bag, so I made a blue stuff mold of that as well. And then during an afternoon, I cast a lot of trash bins, garbage bags, wheels, and other accessories, so I could make a lot of trash piles while only buying 1 resin set. This minigun right here is also a bit that I only had 1 resin minigun bit, but I knew I wanted to build more than 1 model. So this minigun right here is actually a copy of the bit using blue stuff, a 2-sided blue stuff mold with pressed in green stuff, and it's a bit off. I had to do a bit of cleaning with the knife afterwards, but it's a really nice bit, and considering it's a 28mm bit, it's the detail comes out great. And if the model is sufficiently simple, you can actually do complete press mold copies of entire models. I was lacking more of these riot gear zombies, so actually neither of these 2 are the original model. They are both green stuff copies made with the blue stuff mold. I made a 2-sided mold and then pressed in the green stuff, and just before the green stuff was completely cured, I could rearrange their arms, their legs, so they got a different shape. And this guy had, his arm was pretty messed up from the press casting, so as he's a zombie, I just cut it off, made it a stump. So yeah, blue stuff, amazing material to copy certain bits. All right, so these are single bastion, around HESCO bastions each. Let's continue and make some plaster and try to cast a few copies. All right, so I've been casting in resin before, and it stinks and it's a mess, and I really don't like the material. And for this kind of thing, making HESCOs like this that doesn't have to be pretty or precise in detail, plaster is a great way to go. And you can buy very cheap plaster at your craft store. This is 5 kilos, and 5 kilos was 100 crowns, which is like 15 euro. So it's super cheap, and you'll get a lot of casting from it. I've been making a lot of terrain pieces with the plaster casts. I think I've seen some online hobby stores selling what they call acrylic, non-toxic acrylic resin, water-based resin, and I don't think it's a resin material. I think it's a fancy name for plaster that's sold expensive. Super easy to use. You just take some of the powder into a cup and mix in water until you have the consistency you like. The less water you can make do with, the less the cast will shrink, because it will shrink a bit when you when the water evaporates and the plaster dries. It is going to shrink just a bit. So water, plaster, mix it around. This needs some more. I haven't at any point checked out correct measurements or anything like that. Who has the time? So this is getting a good consistency. You need to make sure that it's mixed all together. It needs to be mixed really well. So you don't have any clumps of plaster that's not, that's not stirred well enough into the water. All right, this seems to have a nice thick consistency, almost like a frosting on a cake. And let's just pour it into the mold. There we go, all the way to the top. And the next one, I think there's enough for a second one. Oh, just about. Just use the spoon to get this out. There we go. And this is it's quite easy to sandpaper the surface if you have a bit too much. So yeah, and it's depending on how hot it is, it'll need to dry for between half an hour and a couple of hours, and it will harden completely over a day or something like that. But this should be fine. We should check the other mold that we made. It seems cool. There it is. It's hard, so we can take off the Lego pieces and should be able to push this out. Perhaps we'll just and this triple mold will really help me get a lot more done. So as you can see now, there's a bit of excess blue stuff all around. We'll just cut that off with a hobby knife. That's why the single ones are so sharp on the edges. Now this material can be used indefinitely. You can heat it up and reuse it as many times as you like. And any kind of debris like resin, plaster, or whatever you're casting in it, green stuff putty, will it's quite easy to remove it from the blue stuff when it's a heated blob. You can pop out the small pieces of waste that's in it. If I had enough, and I don't think I won't with this one, I could go over with my knife and cut off a lot of the excess stuff around the side and use that, heat it up, form it again, and make another mold. That's how I made a couple of singles. That everything that was excess, I cut it off, reheated, and made another mold. But I don't think I can cut enough from this to make another single one. Let's see if we can pop them out. Sometimes you will have to cut down the mold in one side to be able to get whatever you cast out. Then just put a rubber band around it when pouring something in. And let's see if we can get the last one here. There we go. And I'm not sure. Yeah, it's visible on the camera here. We can see the grid, the mesh pattern all around. So let's mix up some more plaster and put it in this one, because making a lot of triples will definitely save a bunch of time if I'm making enough of these to actually encircle a military base. And since this stuff is so cheap, it doesn't really matter if we have to waste some of it. Who cares? Water and stir. I plan to use this. I just got the Mantic terrain crate, terrain crate 2, the one with all the mud and stuff. And there's some cool sandstone barriers, but really not enough. There's 2 straight ones, and then there's a single curved sandbag emplacement, and the curved one is a single layer of sandbags, and the straight sections are 2 layers of sandbags, and that just looks weird to my eyes. It makes no sense. So I plan to make a blue stuff mold of the curved sandbag section, then press mold with milliput and green stuff, then copy it, and before it cures, add the copy on the first one, so I get a double layer on the curved section as well. All right, plaster all done. Let's just pour it in. And then put it aside. But to dry. And give it a few taps to make sure that there's an even top. Now I have a bit of plaster left, so I'm just going to use this. This is a rubble mold from Green Stuff World with cinder blocks. It's good to have. So we'll just use the rest of this plaster that's already mixed to make a few extra cinder blocks. These are good for adding detail to ruined buildings and other apocalyptic terrain. Piece of cardboard. Let's just, so we can draw this out here into the mold. I really like these rubble molds. It's a great resource. They have for multiple, Green Stuff World have them for multiple different settings. Some are with smaller details for like rivets. They have for cartridges, and actually science fiction detailing as well. And I might be getting the science fiction detail one, as I plan to soon be building a sci-fi dungeon. Bomb, zero waste. Off to the side with that. Let it dry. Just make sure to move these so I don't mess them up. And that's how you do a plaster casting. And if you wait for a while, it'll dry up, and I'll show you the pieces. On to the next part of the stream. All right. So next up, we need to build some stuff with the HESCOs that we cast. And while the ones here are drying, I'm just gonna build from some of the one that I've casted beforehand. I tend to cast up a bunch in the molds, take out the plaster, I leave it in the kitchen, and then during an entire day, whenever I walk past it, I pour them in, mix some plaster, make some HESCOs, leave it to dry, come back, and then I'll be able to do 5 casting runs in a day, to and from. So I have a bunch of HESCO bastions ready here, and it's time to build something from them. Cardboard. I want to start by building some corners. Just gonna check them over. Some of them have like this one. See it here. Get the camera shut. But the mesh is a bit curved here, so I want to hide that part, putting it where I can't see it and glued together. There's another one. I'll just line some up. There we go. I think I'm gonna be building here a corner with 4 in each direction. There we go. So just quickly flipping them over to see the best side on them, like this. I'm gonna take my pen, just mark out a base. I'm just using thin cardboard. Cut it out. I'm adding a bit of space around the HESCOs because I want to add sand to the base, static grass, flock, and yeah, detailing like that. I still want the HESCOs to work in any kind of environment, so I'll not go too green on the flock. I'll try and mix in dead grass and dirt patches, sand, so the finished terrain piece will work for both desert setups. If I gonna play some war in Iraq, Afghanistan, insurgency games at some point, and they'll work in Zona Alpha, the wet exclusion zone, or this is not a test. All right, so here's the base. Here's the base for this HESCO emplacement. I'm just using cheap wood glue, works fine. Take the HESCOs, add a nice big blob at the end right there, and add it to the base. So make sure on all these HESCOs, one side will be perfectly flat and one side will not. This side is perfectly flat because it was down in the mold, and this is the top where some of the water has evaporated from the plaster, so it will be a bit curved. So of course we want the glue on the completely flat side. So we get another nice piece here. Find the best surface. There we go. Corner. Next one. And I'll just make I'll just use enough glue, better more than less, and it doesn't matter if there's a bit of glue that pops out there because we'll just add some sand in a bit before it dries. Okay, so that's the first layer. At this height, it'll fit perfectly for a 28mm soldier to look over it. But I'm gonna add another layer. I'm gonna leave the corner open there for a firing position, but add some extra height here because this is supposed to look like a base defense. I want to make sure that I have I want to build 4 of these corners, I think, to mark out 4 corners on a military base. All right, there we go. That was like that. Lots of glue. Make sure to use a lot of glue. Stack them up on top of each other. So the look that we're going for here is that the Now the HESCOs are a bit higher than the miniature, and he can take up a covered firing position in the corner, a cover 90-degree angle. Now we need to put some pressure on this piece to let it dry. We'll just here add a bit of sand around here where there was too much glue. There we go. And then I'll take this aside, and I'll just put a huge box on top of it to press it down while this while the glue completely dries. There we go. I'll just take a big box. And there we go. So there's some pressure on that. I'll just leave it out until tomorrow, and continue working on the piece at that point. So after it's completely dry, and you need to make sure that the glue is completely dry, because those plaster things are pretty heavy, you will end up with a piece looking something like this. So this has dried now. Like this, you can see the height with the miniature a bit better. So it's down there. So that's pretty cool. Now we need to add some sand to a piece like this. Again, I'm just going to use wood glue. Add some wood glue to the base. Add a bit of glue here at this point where it's bendy, because this is made from single pieces. So I'm just gonna pour in a bit of glue here. So when that dries up, it'll stick together better and won't bend as much. So we're just gonna add glue on top of the HESCOs here. Lots of glue. Gonna need some glue on the base itself, and then lots of sand. Again, the more the better. The more the better. I make sure to kind of tap underneath the HESCOs with my brush to get some extra glue underneath the pieces. There should be sufficient, because I've been using a lot when putting them in place. But whichever terrain piece I do, I tend to and try to add a lot of glue and material. I want it to have some strength. It's pretty important. I consider all the terrain pieces I do club pieces. I don't really have a regular club, but I want them to hold up like if they were in a club. The glue here on the top. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Want some glue there, and then doesn't mean anything if it gets in between the HESCOs. That'll just help keep everything together. There we go, and that was the last surface right there, and then it's time to just pour on some sand. There we go. Lots of sand. Whenever I sand something like this, I leave the sand there for just a bit, so for the glue to kind of soak in. Get it a few taps, and then the HESCOs that I've seen in the real world haven't been topped off too nicely. So we're just gonna pour on a bit of extra glue on top to add kind of like piles of dirt. Just gonna add like a bunch here, bunch there, and let this blob flow out a bit. There we go. Like that. And pour some sand onto these blobs. And when it's all dried up, it'll look like a pile of extra dirt. Break up that flat top a bit, like that. And then it just needs to, oh, a bit of blue stuff. There you go. And then it just needs to dry up. I can see here the one that we cast before starting to dry up, starting to be hard. It will probably break easily still, so we have to wait, but it won't be too long and we can actually take it out. So the plaster dries fairly quickly. It does. All right, on to the final step on this little piece. So here's a piece I did earlier. This is just a single layer. It's not as long as the one we just built. This is all dried up and it's real sturdy. The thick layer on the base here, the cardboard, feels really hard. No wobbling there. I base coated it with this sand spray. I just went online and searched sand colored spray paint and was diverted to a military surplus shop which sells these really cheap, 40 crowns. That's the price of the cheapest kind of spray paint you can find in a hardware store, but it's a much higher quality. So I think I'll go back and check this out for other colors. So I just base coated this in this sand color because the real life HESCOs, the fabric underneath the metal mesh is this tan color. The plan is this will save a lot of work because now that it has this color, it's a matter of dry brushing it for the metal effect, pick out some extra details on the dirt with another kind of brown or sand color, and then wash the entire thing and give it some flock. And I have been talking a bit in other videos that I paint with a minimum of any kind of technique, really. Base colors, wash, and done. So dry brushing, despite being the first and most simple of techniques, is really not my strong suit at all. So we'll see if we can make it work. Yeah, I'm just gonna use Army Painter's gunmetal. It's a nice matte and dark metal color. Let's see if we can get this to work. My dry brush. Take the piece and let's see if we can get some on. Wipe up the excess. Yeah. That works. Awesome. So dry brush, dry brush, dry brush, dry brush at a 45-degree angle, one side. Let's take this. So the trick is to not paint too much metal color on the brown. I want the brown sand color to stand out. But I think it does. So that's cool. Go see if you can see it. Yeah. The camera is a bit overexposed. Let's see here. There we go. So this is going to be a fairly easy, quick piece to actually paint up. It's awesome. There we go. Next. Would be nice if the 3-piece would dry up. I think when I'm done painting this one and we have added basing materials, we'll be ready to take that stream original bastion piece out of the mold. So quick dry brush. Nearly done. Last side. I'm sure there are plenty of people who can offer some great advice on how I could improve this dry brush session. But there we go. The mesh is all dry brushed up. Shows better on my eyes than the camera. I'll of course take photos of this and make a written blog post about the build step by step, as with all my terrain projects. So I think we need to, besides the dry brush, we need to add a bit of different browns to the sand. It's a bit too much the same color right now. So we'll just take a brown. It's on here. Cheap acrylics. I'm just using super cheap paints for this. There we go. Just gonna go over the top here. Perhaps I'm gonna add in some gray as well. Need to add some different colors. Piece here in the top. Make it stand out from the HESCOs there on the side. There we go. Brown. Not even sure I have any gray out here. Hey, I did. That's nice. So here we go. There, different kinds of brown on the top. And then the wash will probably do the rest. Go with sides here as well. Kinds of brown. To make the HESCOs themselves clearer. As there'll be some contrast here on the dirt. There we go. Add a bit of gray for the rocks. See if I can see any larger rock parts that actually stand out. I was just gonna add some gray here. Go there. And here the base itself. There's a nice rock there. There we go. All right, and there. Some gray, brown on the base. The HESCO's there. Put it down, and then it's time to add some flock and static grass to the piece. We have to wait a bit with doing any kind of washing because the paint is wet, and I haven't made like a kitchen step of this one where I painted and have one dried ready. Well, I think we're just about ready to take this out. That's gonna be nice. So for the basing of the piece, I plan to use some dark green flock, not too bright green, because this would fit in the post-apocalypse setting as well. And then some dead grass, all dead, and I've mixed the birch tree seeds into this one to add a bit of extra texture. Right. So let's do that. Especially the green will make the HESCOs pop a bit extra. Let's see if I have these. All right. I take glue down here at different places. In the base, still want dirt. Still want visible dirt. Some of the places. There we go. Dead grass. We'll need to add some dead grass to the top as well, depending on where we're at, of course. But the base I was in, the HESCOs was very old, like nearly 20 years. It's been there, so they were covered in grass on the top. I'm not gonna do that with these because I want them to, as mentioned, fit in many different kinds of environments and setups. There we go. Boom. Put that extra stuff. Add some in here. And if you cast up enough of these HESCOs, it shouldn't be a problem building like a guard tower. That can be built like that as well. A bunker, a complete HESCO bunker. I could use some barbecue skewers and green gauze. I have green gauze from army bandages, and make like an outpost, a small tent, camouflage net. That would be a cool detail as well. All right. So take this out. Just add some flock to the top there as well, in various places. I'm gonna add some here. There. Like there's different dots here. Gonna press that in. Boop. Pop. Tap it off. Yep. So that's one kind of flock that we're going to add. Then it's time to add some of the greener, the dark green flock, static grass to the base. All right. This will add a bit of contrasting color, which will look nice. Oh. So normally I would of course be assembly line doing stuff like this. So I would cast up a lot of stuff. I would build as many HESCOs as I could. Then I would sand them, leave them to dry. I would base coat all in one go, leave that to dry, dry brush, paint dirt on all of them in the same setting, let it dry, wash, let it dry, and then static press. So this is only for this video, that I'm not letting it dry completely before going to the next step. It creates kind of a bit of a mess. But for the sake of the video, we'll do it. All right, there's the green. I think of all the green kinds of flock I have, this is my favorite. I really like the dark green color of it. Let's just tap it here, get all the excess off. There we go. Whoops. Pour it back in the container. Like that. And yeah, not too bad. You can take the sand up the one we did before. Look at that difference. That's a decent result for a very quick work. The green on the base adds a lot. The dirt, the static grass on the top, the dead grass. It's nice. Now all we need to do is give the sides of the HESCOs some wash. I'm just taking this mid brown because of all the different brown washes from Army Painter. It's my least favorite, so I figured let's just get it used. See if it will bring out some nice extra details. I'll make sure with the wash that I go extra heavy here in whichever places that yeah, that doesn't. I'm not sure I like this mid brown at all. It's too brown, really. That's not good. Just kill it. Kill it with fire. And I'll just quickly go pick up a strong tone. 2 seconds. All right, let's try using some strong tone on the HESCOs instead of that mid brown thing. That doesn't look good. Let's see here if we can get it done. Yeah, much better, much better. I'm not sure how much wash this is going to cost me when I'm making a lot of these. So I might have to perhaps I'll switch and start using my homemade brown wash instead, as I plan to do a lot of these. But that remains to be seen. Just gonna water down the wash a bit to not use as much. Make it last. There we go. All right. So Patrick has just tuned in to watch the stream. Hello, Patrick. Thanks for watching. So nearly finished with the first piece. Needing to add wash to a single side. And then it's the first HESCO bastion emplacement is done. Yeah, we can see as well on the top that the glue is not completely dry. But I'll make sure to show off in the blog post when it's all done. Go last little bit of wash here. Last side. And that is that. Washed on all sides. Let's just put it aside. Let's let that dry for a bit and come back to it in a second. And we can just go over and see if we're able to actually get that piece out that we cast at the start of the video. So let's start with the singles ones here. So there will be some excess plaster here. Breaks off fairly easily, and we'll try to push it out of the mold bit by bit. And here we go. Another HESCO ready. And it still feels wet, so it will need to dry for a day before it's good to work with. But at this point, I would be ready to cast another. I'm sitting outside. It's pretty cold today. So when I've been casting these inside my house, I've been pouring the plaster, and then I've set them over on the radiator, the heater, in the living room to let them dry quicker. Another one. And let's see if we can get this one out. That would be fun. That would be really fun. I think I'm gonna add a cut here from the start to make it pop easier. Just gonna cut down on both sides here of the mold. That shouldn't damage the detail at all, but it should make it a lot easier to get this triple HESCO out. All right. Come on, without breaking it. Oh, piece of. There we go. And for something like this, when I'm doing the next casting, I'm just gonna hold it together and add a rubber band, and the cut that's right there, it won't show on the casting. And here's the finished tree piece that we did earlier today. So nice grit on these sides, definitely enough to make a dry brush, and it's gonna save a lot of time and make a sturdier terrain piece, because this one is made with the individuals, and casting up some of these 3 pieces will definitely speed up the process when building the lower level of the HESCOs. And then I'll just go over with the single pieces afterwards, and it will be fairly quick to get all the emplacements done. Now, we did this one today. This is the size that I'm going for. I'm going to build 4 of these corners, and then I want to build some straight sections. I've made one earlier today. Let's just see if we can find that. It's here. What? Just gonna add this here. Stand there. 2 seconds. Just gonna add some pressure better. I want to build a couple of these straight sections as well, like 5 or 6 of these, and then you'll be able to cover a pretty big area on a board with the cool HESCOs combined with some sandbag emplacements. It'll make for a cool military board. All right, let's see if the camera will let us get a nice photo of the painted version here. Perhaps if you take the green underneath, it's better. So HESCO, dry brushed metal, washed, some sand on top. See if I can get the camera down here and we'll have a look. Whoa. All right, and he's upside down. There. That's not too bad for an hour of work. So we've been at it for an hour, and this is a decent result. I think the colors will be even sharper when I do the next one, because I'll let the individual layers dry better. So that will be it for this build. We've went over mold making, casting, building some HESCO bastions, how to quickly paint them up, and basing, and the done result. So thanks for checking in. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna head over to my Discord channel. I'll just drop a link down below, and yeah. Thanks for watching this video of the HESCO Bastion build. I hope you enjoyed it. Please take a moment to drop a like and a follow on some of my social media pages. That what's helping the blog grow. It gives me ideas. Sharing is caring. So please drop a comment. Let me know what you think. And see you around for the next build.